Welcome to the closing table with Loans by Katrina. I'm Katrina Flukas, wife, mother, minister, nana, and loan officer. This podcast is about where faith and finance intersect. It's about real conversation. It's about us understanding that nobody is always actually ready or 100% ready. The person that you see in front of you today wasn't always who she is today. And this podcast, this segment is personal to me because I want to talk about the becoming, where we actually started or where I actually started, and kind of take it back from there. There was a time when Freedom by Design, which was my original ministry and podcast, was just me going live. It was no lights, it was no scripts, it was no brand package. It was me walking, exercising, and just going live and talking about whatever came to my heart and mind, just obedience. But I had to take it back from there because in my obedience, in my understanding, I knew that God was calling me to do something different. And He had to take me back to my original roots, which I'm from Miami-Dade County, so Miami, Florida, as some of you all will say. And I grew up as a community baby. My mom was 16 when she had me, so all of her friends were young. She was a baby. So I was their baby. And that's how I grew up. I grew up in a nurturing and nurturing environment. So I was like, you know what? When God said it's time for us to talk, I was like, Lord, I don't want to expose me. I don't really want to talk about me. But I learned very early that I was a natural connector with people. I had a opportunity to just have real conversation and let a person see me beyond what they saw on the exterior. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know what it was going to become. I just knew God was calling me to speak, to encourage, to empower, and to create a space for people to grow and create a space for myself to grow because I had to get out of my comfort zone in a major way. So understand, it didn't start polished. It just started with purpose. I was always a networker, so to speak. And actually, when I got ready to start Freedom by Design, which I didn't know what it was, I didn't know the name. So if I might be talking to you, if you're hearing me now, get started. Don't wait. Do it raw. Do it without the lights. Do it without anybody, because that's the way that I started. And I stayed consistent and intentional with it. So coming into a networking environment, network marketing, before it was a trendy thing, I just worked the room. I built relationships. That's who I am. If I come in contact with you and we connect on a level, I'm going to build a relationship first because it's bigger than money for me. I have to make sure that there is alignment and intention in everything that I do. So I had an opportunity to attend a Women of Power event, so to speak. And the lady, this is over 10, 11 years ago, she was talking about going live and how we utilize social media. And it was scary at first, and I didn't understand. But she was like, just go live for 15 to 30 seconds and just say whatever comes to heart. And that's where I started walking and exercising in my neighborhood. And I actually had my husband with me. He was not a part of the social media. He was like, no, I'll just be in the background. So we just started talking. And what I did in my walks, I would think about topics that were important to the people that I was interacting in my business, in my conversations, which a lot of time was faith. It was about money. It was about, just people struggling and trying to understand how they're making these big lifetime decisions, and they really weren't equipped to make the decisions. They were trying to figure out, like, Katrina, how do I do this, because I wasn't taught. And it made me go back to my beginnings because my mom, as I said, when she had me, she was 16. She did the best that she could. I always saw her working two jobs. I didn't even know, this is funny when I think about it, I didn't even know that we were poor. Had no idea until I probably was in about high school. And I was like, wait, we don't have what everybody else has. Like, but we had love. So I thought we were rich. And actually, we were rich. We were rich in love. It was just the finances that I didn't have all of the stuff and the things. And that was okay. My mom worked two jobs to make sure that me and my sister, my cousins, that we had what we needed. Because again, I grew up in a community environment. And honestly, some days I look back and I think about where I came from, the things that I did, and where I could have been. And I tell God, thank you for grace, because it was a lot of things that were coming at me, but something was different about me. And my family knew that early on. I didn't always see it. I knew I was a leader by nature, but I didn't see everything that God was trying to pull out of me. But baby, when it started coming out, I was like, okay, I understand this. And as it relates to the industry I'm in now, I actually started real estate in 2007 as a realtor. So I started as a realtor first, and then I transitioned into the loan officer, which again, the consistency component. But I wanted to be authentic in everything I did. I didn't want to be made up. I didn't want to be unreachable, untouchable. I needed people to connect with me before they physically connected with me, if that made sense. Like being able to see me consistently, being able to see my lifestyle and everything and say, hey, when they come in contact and we have that conversation where they're making one of the largest decisions of their lives, they were like, I feel her. I can relate with her. I understand her and I believe she'll understand me. That was important to me. So, what people see now, whew, they see the business, they see the ministry, they see the titles, but that's the after. That was before the messy stuff, right? So, the book, author, yes, self published. And I thought the book was something else. The book was entitled, or is entitled, Exposed, Revealed in His Presence. Now, I'm going to back up. I thought God was letting me expose all the people in my life who had wronged me. But baby, that was not what it was. He was exposing me to me, and I truly was revealed in his presence. I remember writing the book. I had already started with going live and I had the presence of Freedom by Design. So I was every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I was speaking and I was talking to people. And it actually transitioned from me just speaking off the top of my dome to studying scripture and sharing information. And I would always preface it by saying, I'm not anybody's minister. I'm not any of that stuff. I'm just telling you how I feel and what it looks like to me. But God had a plan. In that season of exposed and writing that book, I had to be vulnerable in a way that was extremely uncomfortable for me. I didn't like it. And I can remember so vividly a couple of times when I was writing the book, my husband had to take me on a couple of trips. Like we went to Hilton Head and we went to Destin. Like I needed to just go and sit at the beach because as I was writing the book, I was digging into some parts of me that I had hidden away that I didn't realize were just tucked away. And it was difficult to write about because, again, I was Dr. Katrina Flukas. I was that girl. I was doing my thing, but God was like, let me take you back so I can remind you that where you came from and where you're going is not going to be what you think it is. It doesn't have to look like anybody else. And I was so grateful, so humbled when I went through that season because it was a lot. It was about transparency, it was about identity, true identity, and it was healing for me. And just seeing those words go on paper in black and white, it was a lot having to read it over and over. And then I was like, okay, God, so I'm going to publish this book and I'm going to put it on Amazon. I'm going to be an Amazon best-selling author. And he was like, no, that ain't that's not what we're doing. And I'm like, okay, but you had me write this book. How am I going to get it out? He was like, that's what Freedom by Design was about. It was about you building this ministry. It was about you building a following. Somebody out there is going to read your book. Your following will read it. And God would not allow me to put it on any platform until I sold a certain number of books, grassroots. And I did that. And even still, there were times when I wasn't selling it, I was just giving it away. And I would have men, young women call me and say, I didn't want to put the book down because there were so many components about your life that resonated with me. And that was a part of my vulnerable season. That was a part of my healing season. That was a part of me understanding that it's bigger than you. Like we're assigned to certain people. So in my journey in finance, the people that I come in contact with, it's not by happenstance. I pray over my clients. I pray over my computer. I pray before I have conversations because I want to make sure that I'm doing the things I'm supposed to do. I know the finance part, but my compensation, that'll happen when it needs to. Before anything, I had to have faith, even without clarity. When I couldn't see which direction, which way he was taking me, I thought I was planning. I thought I did the Habakkuk and I was writing a vision and making it plain. And God was like, you can write it and that's good. And I want you to pray and get in alignment with me. But there are some things and some people that this is for that's going to be bigger than you could ever think. And when I tell you, having the courage, because it took some time, to let people see behind the curtain, that was a whole thing. It's a whole situation because we can all do the photo shoots. We can all step out. We can all look good for a couple of hours and all of that good stuff and talk the talk. But allowing people to see who you really are, naked and ashamed. And that was a journey for me. So, Freedom by Design, 3.5, 4 years. And then he released me from it. And the next thing was my calling. Now remember, I started Freedom by Design all the time saying, hey, I'm not nobody's minister, I'm not no pastor, I'm not any of that. I'm not an evangelist. I was saying all the things that I was not. I'm not a prophet. And God was just laughing at me because I was saying what it was. And He already knew the plans that He had for me. He already knew where I was going and what I was going to do. I'm now a licensed minister. It has been 2 years. And I thought that was the next thing, but it wasn't the next thing. It was a situation where business and ministry were not separate, they intersected. Faith and finance meeting and coming together as one. So when we're out here making our plans and doing our stuff, we got to understand we can't push God out of it. And I said, Lord, I will never do that again. You are a part of everything. And when I released my business, when I released myself, when I was truly the vessel, and I said, Lord, I'm your vessel, use me the way you want to, my business blossomed, my connections blossomed, and the amount of wealth that I received, not what you see in the bank, it goes beyond anything that I can imagine. I don't lack or want for anything. I'm so grateful for the calling that came before the credentials. Now, I do have the credentials, but it was the calling that guided me and allowed me to take one step at a time. So, again, I don't know if this is a you thing. If you're listening right now, it might be you or it might be somebody that you know. Tell a friend, listen, share it with a friend. I didn't become who I am by accident. I didn't. I became her through obedience. And every day I'm still becoming. I'm still walking in that obedience. Is it difficult sometimes? It is extremely difficult. Do I find myself in situations where I'm like, Lord, I can't see it? I do. I have real conversations with him because that's the kind of relationship that we have. I'm like, I don't know. My bank account lying on me. You said X, Y, and Z. I don't understand. Where are my clients? What am I doing? And he's like, I got you. Just keep walking. Keep looking forward. This journey taught me something that was important. You don't have to wait until you're ready. You can move while you're becoming. Take the first step. If you're thinking about doing something, you're like, well, I don't have the funds. I don't know. I want to do a podcast. I want to do this. I want to become a photographer. I want to become a home inspector. I want to become a real estate agent. I want to do it. Do it. Get started. Take the first step. We don't stop talking about what you're trying to do and just take the step. And I want you to hear me clearly. In a season where things don't look like they are finished yet, you must keep pressing forward. Becoming, it takes consistency, it takes vulnerability. Sometimes it's the pictures that are taken behind the photo shoot, behind the segment. Sometimes it's those that are the most powerful I have found in my walk, in my journey. It takes having faith without the applause, without the elevation, or what you perceive to be the elevation, what you feel like people are going to look at. And it requires showing up before people recognize who you are. It doesn't matter about them seeing me. When I walk in the room, what's more important for me is that they see his light through me. That they say, I can't put my finger on it, but it's something different about her. I can put my finger on it. I can smile about it because I know it's not a me thing. Within this business realm, and I said I had, became a realtor in 2007. It eventually led me to becoming a loan officer in 2021. I was not looking to become a loan officer. I don't find anything sexy about math. Sorry for all my math people out there. I just don't. It was difficult. I struggled in math in school. I'm like, Lord, how am I going to do this? But he kept just nudging me. And that's what I love about him. He was so gentle with me because it kept coming. And my husband was like, I think you need to look into this. And I looked into it, and I actually did it in a season where I was helping my uncle who transitioned. The day I passed the test was the day that he transitioned to go and be with the Lord. So I was like, how am I going to take on something new in the middle of me trying to help my uncle? And this is difficult for me because my uncle was like my brother, like he was like my father. And it just happened. I just kept going. And in my going, I released the real estate side of it to an extent. We'll talk about that later, but I embraced the loan officer side. It was a vulnerable season. It was a season of learning, growing, and being able to, help families and serve families and faith-based stewardship, if that makes sense. But none of it would happen without the becoming component, walking without seeing it all. So, if you heard nothing else, this podcast isn't about perfection. It's about the process of becoming. Faith before finance, identity before influence, legacy before luxury. You're going to get your luxury, but legacy first. If this episode spoke to you, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notifications so you'll know when new content is there, and share with somebody who needs this little reminder. Next week, we're getting honest about balancing marriage, motherhood, ministry, and leadership, because becoming doesn't stop once you build. So that's what I have for today. I love you. There is nothing that you can do about it, and I will see you soon at the closing table.